From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, mailbag, boatload of questions about Bama. We talk about the standard at FSU. We talk about recruiting at FSU. And we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Sip the juice, everybody. Check out the website. Look at all the different varieties, whether it's flavors or formulations, everybody. There's different vitamins, different nutrients in each single bottle of Vitamin Energy. You can try a variety pack and have all the different varieties, or you can maybe hone in on one that you particularly want to start, improving a facet of your life in, whether it's your focus, your mood, perhaps your immune response, or your workout energy. It's all there for you. Give it a try. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Noles behind the operation. People helping people. Warchant.com, helping keeping you informed of what's going on with your favorite football team, softball team, basketball team, baseball team, whatever team you're most in tune with. Matt Lasser, Michael Langston got you covered in all the recruiting. Shout out to Matt Lasser yesterday, Corey, up at like 4 a.m. at the airport to get this Jaden O'Neal youngster who's the quarterback that was committed to Oklahoma, still might be committed to Oklahoma. Who knows what his status is as we sit here and talk to you folks. But everything you need to know about recruiting is over on the recruiting and portal board over on warchant.com. That's part of your membership. Again, you'll also be receiving access to rivals.com starting in July. So hop aboard now, get a full running start to the upcoming football season. Promises to be a great one, and hopefully this show does as well. Corey Clark joining me as always. Corey, how are you, my friend?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for asking, Aslan. Means a lot.
All right, sweet. You back in Tallahassee yet, or are you still up in the A?
No, I'm in Tallahassee.
Nice.
Tallahassee for a couple more days, then heading back up.
How's the sales thing going? Lots of open houses, lots of any offers yet?
No offers. We had 4 showings, though. We've had 4 showings, so it's going. Hopefully, we just put on the market on Friday, so hopefully by the time people are listening to this, it's already been sold.
Hey, let me know if you need me to drum up the bids, right? Like I can try to push somebody, maybe try to leverage into a higher offer for you. I'm like, I'll give you $825.
Okay, well we'll just take the $825. Okay. So you'll be stuck with it. Sorry, Aslan.
Let's get to this stuff, everybody. It's the Renegade Express mailbag edition of the program. You know how it all works. We take all the questions from our valued subscribers over on warchant.com's Tribal Council. Best question of the week will be featured at some point in the show as part of generating discussion sparked by Cummins. First question, we're going to go in chronological order, at least on this one. Island Chief, our guy, still up in Jersey, driving around has not only led me to college football savants pumping my gas, but learning to anticipate the jug handle turn. I don't even know what that is. I got to Google that later, probably.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either, but it sounds
treacherous.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Being here has also afforded me access to DraftKings. I shouldn't mention the book. We're not sponsored by them, and nonetheless, future bets for Florida State's upcoming season. So I'm back on it. I'm back on betting the over when I'm given a total of 6.5.
Oh, yeah.
Seems almost like a safety bet. I assume Castellanos will be number 1 in the top 40. I feel like the next 2 positions will be a running back and a wide receiver, though a defensive lineman being there would not surprise me. But if you look at the top 10 just by position with these coordinators, how would you rank the top 10 positions of impact? There's a way to turn this thing on its head. Running back, spoiler, it's going to be pretty high on my top 40 list. You just think with Gus and his track record, and listen, also Mike's track record of wanting to be able to run the ball well, that's got to be a position, a guy that's high on the list, a position, but I don't know if there's a player that fits the bill of being someone who is, your number 2 most impactful player as a running back. Although this offense might make that person better than what they would be elsewhere, Corey.
Yeah, but we're answering his question, right, about the top 10 positions?
Yeah, so it's running back.
No, I would not. No, running back's not number 1. Quarterback is always number 1.
Right.
If you get good quarterback play, that's your most important. I would put running back probably 5th. I have.
Would you put receiver ahead of running back?
Maybe. I definitely put offensive line and defensive line ahead of running back, and then I would probably, just because I think even a pedestrian running back, if you have a good offensive line and a good coordinator, he's going to put up good numbers, even if he's not great. But a good running back behind bad offensive line play with a bad coordinator calling plays and a bad quarterback, it doesn't matter. See Cam Akers, really good running back. How good was that team when he was here? So I would definitely put quarterback, probably offensive line, then defensive line, then
like a singular, like a center, left tackle. Because if we just put defensive line, offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not going to rank them 1 to 22. I guess he only said 1 to 10. Yeah. Then okay, quarterback, defensive end, offensive tackle, offensive guard, center, defensive tackle, and then wide receiver, running back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Offense has got to get fixed. This staff, Corey, like this offense, like that's not defensive heavy. So you're the Tony White guy.
Well, look, man. I think that I think because of how bad last year was on that side of the ball, I think offense has to be fixed and has to be much better. So that's why I would have three offensive line positions in my top 10. I would have running back and receiver probably in the top 10 along with quarterback, because I think the offense is so important. We saw last year the defense wasn't any good either, but the defense wasn't an absolute disaster. The offense, if you're an absolute disaster offensively, you have no chance. You're the worst team in America. And the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced Florida State was the worst Power 4 team in America last year, which is impossible, but it's the truth. It's mostly about offense with me.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense, but if you told me what this coaching staff was, and then you told me, all right, go ahead and rank the positions of importance, I would put running back really high. But then when you show me the roster, I'm like, well, I don't know if any of these running backs are worthy of being like the second most impactful player on this team. So it's kind of that weird disconnect. But hey, we'll see. Maybe Gavin Sawchuk finds that 2023 form that he had. And I don't know, real quick before we pivot to another question, if one of these running backs ends up running for over 1,000 yards, would you think that they probably end up being like one of the three most impactful players on this team? Or is it still too bold of a proclamation?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that would be the case, because I would be surprised if that happens, because I do think it'll be more of a committee than maybe Gus is used to, because I think the Sawchuk kid is the best one probably, but we don't know what Crowmaw is. I think Lucas is going to be involved somehow, and then I think Roy Dell Williams will do some things. So I think it'll be more. They'll just be more.
More options.
More options, more carries for more people, more touches all around. So I think it'll be more shared, especially if they're going to be running 55 plays a game. You're not all 55 are going to Sawchuk. So, I would say I just would be surprised also, because I think Castellanos is going to take some of those yards away.
Well said. Tennis Ump, wake up. Recent recruiting momentum, definitely exciting with more of it looming on the horizon. Without bashing former coaches, what seems to be the difference between the last staff and this one as far as connecting with players? From what I've been reading, it sounds like a great job is being done on showing them specifics on how they will be used, even with the tough backdrop of 2-10 to overcome. What are your thoughts?
On connecting with the players?
Yeah, is there anything different you think about this staff? Are they younger? Are they more hip?
I think I'll be honest. We have to be honest. We don't know these guys. We've interviewed them twice, but we don't know them. I would definitely think that Terrence Knighton and Tony White are a complete 180 from Adam Fuller and Odell Haggins. I don't think Odell Haggins was. Well, we know Odell Haggins is old, man. He was in. He's 60 years old. And he's been doing it forever. He's not old, man. I just turned 50. I'm not trying to age shame anyone. I'm just saying that is a different person that played college football, got into college football 40 years ago, as opposed to Terrence Knighton, who's probably a little younger, probably a little fresher with the lingo, has a social media account, cares about it, Like, that's stuff that I think players can relate to. I don't know if it matters much. I don't even think that was the question. I do think Tony White is probably, and I'm not trying to take shots here, I think Tony White, from what I can gather, the way he talks to us and what we heard from the players about him, very good communicator. Very, very gifted communicator. Gus Malzahn, no idea how he's different than. I don't think he's a guy that takes people under his wings and is necessarily like the rah-rah coach, player coach. I think it's more his resume, and I think he wants a specific thing, and I guarantee you he is specific about it. And he knows exactly what it's supposed to look like. And so we'll see how that manifests itself. But you know Gus Malzahn knows exactly how a play is supposed to be run successfully and what it's supposed to look like from first player to 11th player on the field. And you know he's not going to just let people get away with, half-assing it. He's pretty detailed. So but I don't know if that means they're connecting as much as they are. Maybe they're getting better coaching or clear coaching, more concise coaching. I don't know. But if they go out and lose 40-8 on August 30th, who cares?
Yeah. Try to do some quick math. I think Tony White might be all of 2 or 3 years younger than Adam Fuller, so I don't think there's any kind of real youthful exuberance he has over Fuller. But I would think that whatever connection we think Tony White has a better rapport with players than Adam Fuller does, I think Alex Atkins probably had better rapport with players than Gus Malzahn had. In terms of recruiting, right? Like being able to kind of play that game and being willing to play that game. We think Gus, large and reason that he's here is because he probably doesn't like the recruiting game all that much any longer. But he's obviously got a great track record, so he can kind of speak to that, and that might have kids.
Yeah, I don't really care about that.
Him.
Honestly, I don't care. I don't give two BMs about that. I don't care about the recruiting. I want you to be able to get your message to a player that's on your team and get him to do it correctly. Whatever you're trying to get him done, whatever the play is supposed to be, however he's supposed to run that play or see that play or execute that play, you get it done. Gus Malzahn isn't here to recruit. Either his resume speaks for itself or the bags of cash at the doorstep speak for themselves. When they get on campus, he has to connect with them. And the one thing with Alex Atkins is kind of I don't know, he certainly wasn't chill at practice. I mean, he got after him. He wasn't their friend. At practice, but he did seem like maybe a little younger, more of their contemporary, especially the older guys he was coaching the last 4 years. He'd been coaching them for more than half a decade, so they probably did feel more like peers than coach, coach and student. That's not the case with Malzahn at all. But also, I don't care about if you love your coach. Doesn't matter to me at all. You've got to have a coach that gets results. And Nick Saban, was he great with kids? Brian Kelly, he looks like the biggest buffoon in the world when he's dancing on these recruiting videos. But his offenses never look like what we saw last year.
They got the number one recruiting class based on average rating right now, too, LSU.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm not worried about relationships necessarily. I'm worried about having a plan and teaching it and implementing it correctly.
Also, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I'm going to be Debbie Downer, so go ahead and hit the 30-second fast forward button real quick, everybody. But, Ryan, Florida State's got 14 commitments as we sit here and hang out, everybody. They're 14th in the country. They're 21st when it comes to average rating. So, I don't really know how much of an improvement we've seen so far. And, again, it might feel like things are happening a little bit earlier this time around. Well, that's because it's happening earlier everywhere right now. It's all about getting guys on campus in June, official visits, and getting a commitment before they start their high school football season. So we'll wait and see. It's hard probably in one off season to really judge these guys on networks and relationships and connecting with guys, because some of this stuff still is relationships where you do need to have 2-3 years of recruiting this kid through high school, and they don't have that luxury right now. So it's kind of tough to say, and I don't really know if we should be taking a victory lap quite yet, but I know Michael and Matt are making us feel really good. We're getting a lot of good updates, so that's always a helpful
Well, they got
thing.
a commitment. They got a commitment on, was it Tuesday night?
Yeah,
they got another commitment from a defensive lineman.
Tico Crittenden. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully that sticks, and it was one of the 4 stars. That's a good thing. We like that. Let's go.
It's also not quite as dire as you were fearful. Not you.
No.
One was fearful of after 2-10.
Right.
Like Florida State is still Florida State. Like there's not a ton of schools that could go 2-10, and then the next June be top 15, top 20 in recruiting.
Fair. Yeah. Feels though you probably need to be like top 10 to be sustainable, but who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, if you don't whiff in the portal, you can use the portal as much as you'd like to as well.
Yeah, and like I brought up last week or 2 weeks ago, go look at Clemson's rankings. They're never top 3 or top 5. They always seem to figure out a way to get it done. Recruit better. The ranking is the ranking. That's all. It's subjective to a point. It doesn't mean if you have the 38th best class, but 3 years later we look at it and go, it was the number 1 class in the country. That's never going to happen. But 14 can, if you have the 15th ranked class and you look back 3 years later, it's not a stunner to be like, well, actually that was probably a top 8 class. Look at this guy, this guy, this guy. The converse is true too. Top 3 class, and then 3 years later, half of them have transferred out. None of them were any good. It was more like a top 30 class. So it's hard to know exactly. It's good to know that they're swimming with those teams in that pool. They're not getting lapped by the people that we feared they might be getting lapped by.
Let's begin the Alabama portion of the program. I feel like, it comes in waves certain weeks, so this will be like our bi-monthly focusing really heavily on the Alabama game. Noel Dad for life. Wake up, gents. Saw an interview recently. It got me thinking. Would you rather guarantee a 3-point overtime loss to Bama in week 1 where we look good doing it, or any other result? Could be a convincing win. Could be a blowout loss. Right now, I'll take the guaranteed close loss, but I'm sure as we inch towards kickoff, I'll start to lean more towards the field. His daughter loves the Nelly song, Shake Your Tail Feather, because it's got the war chant in it. Wants me to mix it in at some point. I think we've had at least, I try not to repeat songs, but we can maybe bring this oldie back out. It's also got Diddy on it. Not sure the rules about using music with Diddy on it right now. He's not exactly Michael Jackson in terms of his prolific music development, but also maybe as bad of a track record. Worse, who knows? That's not our podcast to talk about.
It's the art, not the artist, though, Aslan.
That's
right?
true.
It's the art, not the artist. That's why you're such a big Roman Polanski fan.
Strong reference.
I would say, give me the 3-point overtime loss.
Oh.
Yeah. Because that sustains people. Yes, you're going to be upset, especially if Norvell does something dumb in the fourth quarter. I get it. But coming off 2-10, where you essentially weren't competitive the last 6 weeks of the season, to then play Alabama to essentially a stalemate at home, and understand I know what's coming in the next 2 games. So you're going to be 2-1, and your one loss was an overtime loss to Alabama. I think that's enough to sustain to actually build some momentum in the season if you lose in overtime to Alabama, as opposed to losing 38-20 or 31-6, because that's on the table. I understand beating Alabama 38-17 is on the table, but what's more likely? So that's why I think that overtime loss, where it could have gone either way, and also more importantly, and this was the point I meant to make the first, was it doesn't matter at all for your playoff hopes. Doesn't matter at all. You get to Charlotte, you're probably in the playoff, and it's not a conference game. So go ahead and lose that conference game, or go ahead and lose the non-conference game by 3.
Yeah, it feels like as an ACC team, those at-large bids are going to probably not come your way, and that's where like an SEC win helps you out more than a win over Clemson or a win over NC State in the end of November. But
if you played them to an overtime, it's not like they're going to – if Florida State ends up, 10-2, and one loss is to Clemson, let's say they beat Clemson in the regular season, lose to them in the championship game, so they have 2 losses.
What a world that would be.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be awesome?
Yeah.
So you're 11-2, and your 2 losses are to Clemson in the championship game,
and a rematch,
and then in an overtime loss to Alabama, big bad Alabama. You're in the playoff. It's not going to kill you, I guess.
Continuing conversation around Alabama, Corey Clark. We go to our guy C Swizzle. Wake up! I've heard a lot of different people say that if FSU beats Alabama, it won't be a wow, look at FSU, but more so, look what Kalen DeBoer's done to Alabama. That said, is there any version of the game that you feel would have people singing FSU's praises, or no matter what, will the talking points and the talking heads be around Alabama being on the decline? Obviously, there will be people talking about FSU that are closer to the program, but I'm talking about national media, how they would discuss the game after FSU victory. I mentioned this in the group chat the other day, Corey. I feel like Feinbaum's got his show for September 1st or whatever the day that Monday is after week 1, ready to go. Because it's either, Alabama dodged the bullet. Thank God they hired Kalen DeBoer. Look at what he did to Florida State. Or Florida State wins. It's going to be like, hey, listen, they wanted Mike Norvell. He was the first option. But I like the way this looks on screen, but let's make it look a little bit better, dare I say, Corey, because I think it's a really good question. Boom. Let's do that. I think it looks better when it's like that. I think this question is going to be a good one. It's going to be generating discussion sparked by Cummins. The cameras are on. Corey Clark, you know what to do next, please. Oh, man. Look at that.
Get them both, old school and new school.
It is generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Give them a follow on Instagram. Cummins Lifestyle. It's all one word. Summer is in full swing, for better or worse. I love the summer. I love the laid-back nature of it around a college town like Tallahassee, Corey, but the heat is brutal. But get out there in Mother Nature. Get out there camping. Get out there rowing, kayaking, set up camp, and have portable power. And make sure it's Cummins. It's reliable. It's quiet. You can have the portable generator. You can also have it in your RV. You can have it on your boat. Whatever you're doing this summer, make sure you've got portable power. Make sure you select Cummins, a world power leader. So, Corey, go into the mind of the national media, the evil national media. Do you think Florida State beating Alabama in any way would reflect, well, the storyline would be on Monday would be, wow, Florida State, Mike Norvell, watch out, they're back seemingly? Or do you think it would focus on, wow, Alabama, Nick Saban, they sure do miss him?
Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously the national media is going to focus more on Alabama losing to a team that was 2-10 a season ago. I think the more specific point I want to make to this question is, don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about what the national media says right now. When you go 2-10, they are not going to want to sing your praises. Even if you think there's an SEC bias, you don't get benefit of the doubt after 2-10. Enjoy the win and understand that we at Warchant will absolutely hype up the win. I can promise you that. Don't worry about what's on Feinbaum, because, yes, that's an SEC-specific show, and ESPN is an SEC-specific network, even though they do have the ACC network. So if you want to hear Florida State be praised, obviously do the Warchant rap, do the Sunday Night Smash, do Wake Up Warchant, do Jeff Cameron Show, do Seminole Headlines, and then go to the ACC network for whatever they call that show after the game, the Huddle, because they do a good job. They do a really good job, and I assume they'll be in town since ESPN won't. And enjoy all of the attention that Florida State gets from those outlets. And don't worry so much about what a columnist at The Athletic or USA Today or what Feinbaum or Kirk Herbstreit say. That said, I think it will be twofold. I think the overarching story that would come from a Florida State win is absolutely Kalen DeBoer is immediately on the hot seat. Immediately. Because he will then be, 9-4, 9-5? That'll be his fifth loss at Alabama in a little over a year and one game, when it would take Saban 3 years to lose 5 games. So, yes, he's immediately on the hot seat. But who cares? Honestly, and I'm not trying to dismiss the question. It's a good question. It's a fair question. And I hope we get to see the answer. I hope we get to live this reality. But if you just beat Alabama to go 1-0, it's a great feeling, sure, especially coming on the heels of last year. But you're Florida State. Don't puff your chest out too much. You're supposed to win games. And don't become exasperated or ill-willed because you don't get the attention you think you deserve. You didn't just beat Ohio State. Alabama wasn't great last year. So all the attention is going to be on DeBoer in the hot seat. Conversely, if Florida State, say, loses 40-6, Norvell becomes a storyline real quick. If it's a close game one way or the other, Norvell's coaching tenure, coaching career isn't really questioned that much. If he gets boat raced, then it becomes a hot topic real quick, and that's certainly not something you want. Because then that means if they're talking about Florida State a lot in the national media, it'll be about Mike Norvell's job security, which means the game did not go well.
Bama's they're gettable. This isn't, and that's the reason why I think it ultimately, no matter what happens, I do think the story it'll be like, great win by Florida State. Seems like Norvell, has figured out some things there, but it's instantly going to pivot. I can see like Mike Greenberg shows the highlight on, also another game because they're going to talk about Ohio State, Texas. They might talk about LSU, Clemson. Then they'll come to the Alabama, Florida State game. They'll show a quick highlight of it. They'll be like, great win by Florida State. Obviously shows that Mike Norvell's got some things, improved. But the story is definitely going to be Alabama. We bring in our own and they're going to bring Paul Feinbaum on a split screen. They're going to talk about Alabama because this Bama team, we'll see. I don't remember how people talked about LSU after that first game in 2023 that they lost. I think they were kind of left for dead in the SEC, but then Jaden Daniels ended up being a really great story. But listen, man, they've got a really special wide receiver and a really special left tackle. They used to have that at every position in multiple with Nick Saban. Like they do not have that. So this is going to be a team that's not nearly as gifted as what Nick Saban had Alabama chugging along at. So I think that's ultimately, unfortunately, going to kind of be the story. But fortunately, it means that they're gettable and you can beat them. And that's going to give you great momentum going to the rest of the season if you can pull it off.
100%. Yeah. And that's what's more important than whether on that Monday people are talking glowingly about your program or they're giving too much attention to, like, I get it. It would be a little,
it's nice. It's nice to, it's nice to be at the airport flying back to maybe Nashville or wherever you're coming from to watch a Florida State game. And, you're at the airport bar grabbing a drink and they've got PTI and they're talking about Florida State doing really well. It matters, man. They like you and Ira and Jeff, but like, it's kind of cool to hear some of the people in Bristol and around the country also, speak well about the Noles.
Sure. And I get that. I would say that, but it's to be understood. Like I get that it could be frustrating that if you lose to a team, it's all of a sudden, what's wrong with that team that just lost to, if you beat a team, it's all of a sudden, what's wrong with that team that just lost to Florida State? That would be the topic is what's wrong with Alabama? Is Alabama broken because they lost to Florida State? Man, I get that would be frustrating, but you don't get the final say on stuff like that when you go 2-10. It's the remnants of 2-10. So it's the farther you get away from that, the more they will sing your praises. And look, in November, if you're 9-1, they might absolutely be singing praises about the Alabama game and the Alabama win. That matters a lot more than September 1st. November 1st and what they're saying nationally about your team matters a lot, or not saying matters a lot more on November 1st than it does on September 1st. So I literally don't envision a scenario where Florida State beats Alabama and Alabama isn't the bigger story. On ESPN, let's just call it what it is. ESPN is the national. There's nobody cares about
FS1,
what Dan Wolken's writing on USA Today. So it really is just what ESPN is saying. And yes, Alabama will be the bigger story on ESPN. Them losing right now in 2025 is a bigger story than Florida State winning. But that's because of 2-10, and it's because of Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban, all that. It could change real quick by November. And by November, if you're beating Clemson, they will be singing your praises because you're 10-0 and ranked number 2 in the country.
We need to maybe delete this video. I'll delete this video immediately after the game if they lose. I feel like Alabama fans are probably bookmarking a lot of the videos we've done on this.
It's not like we're saying they're going to win. We're saying what it would mean if they won.
Like, oh, you guys spent 9 minutes wondering what it would be like, the messaging around if you beat us. How dare you even spend 9 minutes of your day thinking you could beat almighty Alabama? Why
don't you spend 9 minutes of your day trying to look up words in the dictionary and learn how to spell them? Let's go, Aslan. That's right. That just hey, I know we have a lot of fans from Alabama. A lot of Florida State fans live in Alabama. I'm not trying to take a shot at your state. I'm taking a shot at the people that root for your state college.
There we go. Congrats to C Swizzle 8. He will be entered into our monthly drawing for a free Cummins gift bag with shirts, hats, portable batteries, and then obviously enter into the grand prize drawing at the end of the year for a portable generator and portable power station, all courtesy of our great friends at Cummins. Give them a follow. Cummins Lifestyle, all one word on Instagram. Corey, do what you also do when we say goodbye. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Head over there, everybody. Great place to watch a game, throw darts, shoot pool, grab a drink, and a bite to eat. Delicious food. What other bar is going to put ahi-crusted tuna on their menu and stand behind it for years now? Sriracha honey shrimp, gator tail, obviously the sausage bites from Registers as well.
Yeah.
Those
Cory
are just
wrap.
the starters.
Don't
Those are
forget
just the
about Cory
apps.
wrap. Oh, yeah. The Cory wrap could be your entree, your main course.
Yeah, and not just Cory wrap. It's the Cory wrap. Fresh grilled chicken, piled high with hickory smoked bacon, sharp cheddar cheese, served on a tortilla wrap with lettuce, tomato, onion, pickles, and CP's chipotle mayo.
That's good. Hey, also, before I forget, I did get the schedule for the live music. So the next 2 Fridays is happy hour from 6 to 9.
Ooh, yeah.
And this Friday, it's Anna Westcott, 6 to 9 happy hour. So get there, hear some live music, get your weekend started with your happy hour and your live. Yeah, it's a 6 to 9 happy hour, and it's live music with Anna Westcott.
I thought they usually went 4 to 7. That's very generous.
Friday, though, they're going all the way to 9, baby.
Heck yeah. Who loves you? The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Shake it and take it. I lied, Corey. We got another Alabama question here in the mailbag. We go to our guy, SQuinn67. He says, thanks for bringing the content this summer, guys. Aslan, great job keeping the schedule on track. Corey, sorry you had to spend time in Hoover. Glad the team did well.
Yeah, they did do well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Question. If we have 90 yards of rushing versus Alabama in the first half with no rushes over 15 yards, how would that impact your outlook on the remainder of the season? Will there be a War Chant event prior to the Alabama game?
Yeah, there'll definitely be a couple of War Chant events. Don't have the details necessarily. I'm assuming Corner Pocket on Friday night, as always, like we've been doing for the last few years, and then something on Saturday.
Meet and greet, perhaps.
Meet and greet
Hotel
somewhere,
Indigo. We'll see if that's still going on.
But yeah, so it's saying a 90 yards rushing and a half with no run over 15 yards.
Just jab, hook.
Yeah, 5 yards,
jab.
4 yards, 5 yards.
Yeah,
man. I'm going to reiterate the one practice we got to watch, which was that scrimmage. Was I did the math. It was 240 yards rushing on like 45 attempts, and none more than 12 yards. And it was nothing special. It was not wowing in any way. It was not exciting until you look up and they're still going down the field. And it's 3rd and 2. Now it's another first down. It's 2nd and 6. 2 plays later, it's another first down. They kept moving the. They were matriculating the ball down the field, Aslan. And so if they get 90 yards on, say, what would that be? 15 carries, 17 carries, 20 carries, 20 carries for 90 yards. That's not going to wow you. You're not going to score a ton of points that way typically. But if you're moving the ball, because man, what did we watch last year? If this team had 20 carries against Alabama, it would have had 11 yards. So to go from averaging 1 yard a carry, or 2.5, or 1.5, to averaging 4.5 in a real game without busting a 60-yarder, so it's consistent, I think that bodes very well for the rest of the season. And I think it means you have an offensive line that can move people out of the way, or at least nudge them out of the way enough to give you a little bit of a crease.
Yeah, I don't know if they keep futures up on the board, but if like the win-loss total is still available, I might actually, even after a loss, if they ran like that, I might be like, all right, I'll go with the over. If Gus has got this thing running this nicely week 1 against a team like Alabama, which again I don't know if they're, it's not Nick Saban level Alabama, but it's still a talented SEC program. Week 1, you were like, all right, feel good about what the rest of the season could look like. So
I want to keep going back to 2021 and 2022. Let's go to 2021. Let's say that this isn't even the good version of a Norvell team. This is the 2021 version. Well, look, man, I feel like that team played the easiest schedule in the world. They opened with Notre Dame. That was a tough one. And they played that team to overtime without having superstars, and with Jordan Travis not quite being Jordan Travis yet. But they ran on everyone. They just ran on everyone. I know they started 0-4, but with the games where Jordan Travis played, they could run on everyone. Now they finished 5-7. I get it, but it was a 6-6 team, and they just completely soiled themselves against Jacksonville State and embarrassed themselves. And they also should have beaten Florida. So it was a 6-6, 7-5 type team, and that wasn't even of all that talented team. That was pre-Verse. That was pre-Jordan Travis being Jordan Travis. It was pre-Johnny Wilson. So now, but the reason that team won those 5 games and won 5 of their last 7 with Jordan Travis as quarterback was because they could run the ball. That goes on the road. It's why they got the big lead on Boston College up there. They almost blew it, thanks a lot to the refs, if I remember correctly. It was a crazily officiated game. But they could run the ball on the road. They could run the ball at home. They could run the ball on good defenses, and they could run the ball on bad defenses. And when you can do that, that gives you a chance in every game. And if you have a legitimate chance in every game where it's coming down to the fourth quarter, you are going to win some of those. Last year, the fourth quarter, the game was a wrap. This year, as long as you stay relatively healthy, you will be in most games. I think this is a better version of 2021. So if it's between 2021 and 2022, you're looking at 7.5 to 8 wins. Those two teams combined for 15 wins.
Split it down the middle?
Yeah, split it down the middle. Now, they got lucky to win maybe 1 or 2 of those, or not lucky, but they had to pull them out at the end. They also got unlucky in a few of those, including at Clemson in 2021. So I just want people to keep that in mind. This is not impossible with the talent they have on this team. If they can run the ball, to have a decent to good season, it's not impossible. In fact, it's not that it's not impossible. It's probable. If they can run the ball, they're going to have a good season. Probably not great. They're going to have a good season, Aslan.
74th in scoring offense, 52nd in rushing offense in 2021.
Yeah.
15th in scoring offense, 13th in rushing offense in 2022. I'll live between those two.
Yeah, that's what right. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get, I don't think they'll be 74th in scoring. But I also don't think they're going to be 15th in rushing. I think you can find a mix there. You know, obviously 2022, you've got Trey Benson and Johnny Wilson. You got better players. Also, you had Jordan Travis essentially the whole year. And remember, 2021, the games that Jordan Travis played versus when they didn't play, it was like 2 different sports. You know, I bet they averaged probably close to 30 a game or 33 a game when Jordan Travis was the quarterback, and probably 18 to 20 when he wasn't. And the running game, they couldn't run the ball if McKenzie Milton was the quarterback. Couldn't do it. But with Jordan Travis as the quarterback, they could run the ball, and that gave them a chance against everyone, including Clemson and Death Valley.
All right, I don't remember anything about the 2021 game against NC State.
That was Jordan Travis was sick.
That was the flu game. Everybody was sick on the team.
Yeah, so he didn't play, so McKenzie Milton had to play. And I think he made a couple throws, but he was 22
of 44 for 233, 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
Yeah, but what did they run for?
Ja'Shawn Corbin, 14 rushes, 38 yards gained, 2.3. As a team, 1.41 if you include Ja'Kai had a negative run, and McKenzie Milton's sack yardage, 33 yards of sack yardage.
So they probably ran for what they run for all told, 70, 80 yards, 50?
Team stats here. Team stats, rushing attempts, rushing yards.
I just would have
78. 78. I didn't
mean to put you on the spot. I thought you were looking at the total box score. So 78 yards rushing. Yeah. I'm just telling you, folks, if Jordan Travis is the quarterback in that game, double it. Not because he's going to run for 78 himself, but because the threat of him running opens up stuff on the other side. McKenzie Milton was no threat. Last year, it didn't matter. They couldn't block it up. Tommy, is a threat.
Yeah.
He is a threat. So with a quarterback like that not only is capable of running, but will run, you are looking at an offense that should be able to run the ball against everybody they play as long as he's healthy. And if you can do that with this coordinator, with a stable of average-ish to a little bit better than average running backs, you're going to be able to run the ball. And if you run the ball, you can win games. And if you win games, everybody's happy on Saturday night.
Yeah, if you want to look at it some way. So starting in October of 2021, Florida State only lost one game in which Jordan Travis started and played the whole game, and that was at Clemson.
Yeah, because the other one was at Florida, and he missed 3 of the 8 possessions they had in that game because he got dinged up in that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, that's what and it wasn't like you watched him back then and were like, man, this is the greatest show on turf. This is incredible. I can't believe how much fun this is to watch. This is awesome. But at the end of the game, you were winning. Because you could ground out first downs, you could keep the ball, keep the defense off the field, and you had time of possession, and you could move the ball down the field, and you could score points. Not in crazy amount of points, but you could score points. That, man, I'm telling you, that 2021 Jordan Travis is a lot like 2025 Tommy Castellanos, in my opinion. Hopefully this one is healthier than that one. But I don't think Castellanos is a great thrower of the football. He is not going to be 2023 Jordan Travis, but he is going to be the running threat that 2021 Jordan Travis was and 2020 Jordan Travis was. And that's good enough to win games, man. We just lived through it. Might not be pretty all the time, but 3rd and 3 when you're trying to run out the clock or it's a last-second drive to try to get down for a game-winning field goal, Tommy Castellanos can get you the 9-yard gain on 3rd and 3. That's a great luxury to have.
Let's go to a question that's been asked many times in many different ways. It's random_John. Good morning. Corey, I've heard you mention that if FSU does well this season and next season, 2024 will go down as the aberration. Aberrations don't happen in a vacuum. You both had front row seats in practice and games. So in your opinion, what caused the aberration? What went off track last year if it really turns out to be the aberration?
We kind of talked about this on headlines too. I think it's just it's not fair, but I put so much. Well, it is fair. It's the one specific is the offensive line being awful because it's something that could have been foreseen. Using hindsight, it could have been foreseen because we were not in love with that offensive line in 2023. In fact, we lamented it even as they were going undefeated. It's like, man, they can't run the ball much. They're not a good running team. Not like they were in 21 and 22. They've taken a big step back. In the Georgia game, none of those offensive linemen skipped it. That was your starting offensive line in that game getting dominated. Just like they got dominated against Louisville. And they got dominated against Florida. When Jordan Travis wasn't on the team in the offense, all of a sudden things looked like a borderline high school offense. The Louisville one was the ACC championship game. I know you were your third-string quarterback, but it was borderline high school. Couldn't run the ball. They punted, I don't know, like the last 6 possessions of the game. They got 2 first downs. The only big play was the Toafili Wildcat. They had to go to that. They had to resort to that to move the ball at all, and not against a great Louisville team. So in hindsight, we should have known, yeah, man, the offensive line isn't a strength. It might be a weakness. But they had played so much football. The head coach had said it was going to be the strength of the team. The offensive line coach had said it was going to be the strength of the team. You know, we were led to believe. And look, when you're watching practice, they were busting runs. It wasn't like we sat there and watched them get stoned for 4 weeks. They were busting runs in practice. So we're like, okay, this offensive line actually is going to be good. It was horrendous. It was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment to anybody that's played football at Florida State. That offensive line last year, and everything about that offense was an embarrassment. And so I think that's what we could not have ever foreseen, is the offensive being that bad and the offensive line being that bad. But it's not our job to foresee that. It's the head coach's job. And so I don't know. I think that what the lesson learned there is believe what your eyes are telling you, not what you're hoping. Mike Norvell hoped because all these guys were going to be fifth-year seniors, and they had played a lot of football. Some of them played good football. None with Jordan Travis wasn't the quarterback, but they had played good football. They had good plays. Believe what you're seeing in that Georgia game. That's your offensive line that's coming back next year, going to be that's getting dominated. It's the same offensive line that played in Gainesville and in Charlotte and did jack squat. So believe that, and maybe don't ever get in that position again. Hold people accountable when their offensive lines don't perform well. Make an adjustment. Go get better players. I just think all that will be the lesson learned when you're moving forward is, okay, just because we won doesn't mean we won because of our offensive line. We might have won in spite of it. And I relate this, Aslan, real quick, and I'll stop. Link Jarrett has to have those exact same conversations in the offseason. Did they win because of their pitching or in spite of their pitching? And what are you going to do to improve it? So, anyway, I'm done with that.
Trying to see how many drives they had. I just counted 10 drives they had where they had 5 or less yards.
In Louisville.
Yeah. So they went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, field goal, punt, missed field goal, punt, touchdown, punt, downs, punt, field goal, ball game.
And the field goals came after 4th down stops, I think, where they still didn't get a first down.
The last one was, it came off getting off from down.
Yeah, Ryan Fitzgerald has to go make a 47-yarder in the rain because you couldn't get one first down to end it. After another sack by Fisk and Verse, you still couldn't get one first down to end it behind that big veteran, massive offensive line. That could have been a sign, oh, wait, maybe this isn't going to be the strength of the team. And so, and it's easy for me to say that here in June of 2025. It's not like I was preaching this last year at this time. I was kind of going on their word. They saw something. I know they were banged up at the end of the year because they always are. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe this will be their one time to really, it all comes together. But it didn't, and they were horrible. But isn't that look, man, we can't reiterate that there's no way anybody watching a Florida State practice in August of 2024, it wasn't like it was incredible, but there's no way you would have looked at that team and been like, that's going to be the worst offense in school history.
Correct.
Right now, we are looking at the single worst offense in school history. It devolved into madness after they lost a few games in September, and your quarterback stopped playing, and those other 2 quarterbacks either weren't good enough or weren't ready, and it was just chaos. And it was poorly coached chaos. But it all comes down to the offense. The defense, you could have won 7 games with that defense. The offense was a disaster. And I think when I say aberration, that's really what I mean. Culture, coaches, however you want to frame it. If you have another season where you scored 19 total touchdowns, you are going to lose 10 games. That is a fact. So that was the biggest issue with last year. That's why I don't think it'll ever happen again. He can't ever have just the odds of it, Aslan. What coach could have an offense that bad 2 years in his career? The odds of it are just through the roof. No. Can't happen. So, that's why I think that was the aberration.
Yeah, it's going to be much better. But again, it's so low that how much better is much better really going to be?
Even if you double it, even if you double your touchdown total, that's still mediocre.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was in 2024.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe someday, again, in the afterglow of winning a national championship, maybe we can sit down and there'll be actually, I don't know. There's no way that it would be like this hard-hitting expose documentary on what happened with the 2024 football team. Some guy with a YouTube channel is going to go rip a bunch of video from a bunch of other different people and make some kind of video to get clicks one of these days, I'm sure. But, I don't know. There will be no definitive answer, much like the whole JFK thing, because that's the avatar of our next guy, Adam CZ. It's our guy Mark down there in Naples. He says there seems to be 2 camps right now for this upcoming season. One camp says 7 wins, acceptable, and Florida State can rise from there. The other camp is staunch that where Florida State, 10 wins playoff run is still the standard and always a standard regardless of what happened last year. I admittedly am mostly in the second camp. To me, 7 wins is really 5 wins on a schedule against ACC, SEC opponents. That's a 500 record in a schedule of 10 competitive games. Not acceptable, especially with all the massive upgrades and the proven coordinators. Mike didn't suddenly forget how to coach. I think a 7-3 record in this 10-game slate where we don't factor in those FCS teams is far more of an acceptable, quote-unquote, result, given that we still have a $10 million head coach and these aforementioned proven coordinators. What camp are you guys currently in? Somewhere in the middle. I think either way we can all agree we just want to see games played and not speculate any longer. It must be the dog days of June. Go Noles.
What camp are you in, Aslan?
Either way, these seasons seem to be happening in a vacuum now, Corey. I don't know if I'm totally on board with, I think you and Jeff and I, when we talk about it, just this is the way it's going to be now. We're going to see a Michigan win a national championship take a massive step back, and then you're going to kind of have these huge peaks and valleys. I don't quite know if that's really the way it's going to be, but surely you're not going to have the valley that Florida State had. But all that said, yeah, man, I just don't know how you can win like 7 games and think, okay, we're on the right track. Relative, like, yeah, we're not driving into the depths of hell any longer, but surely I don't know if we're driving towards a national championship with everything intact. So, yeah, when you look at the remaining 10 games, 7-3 gives you wiggle to, you can lose at Clemson, you could lose at Miami, and you could still, and then have another stinker somewhere in there, but that means you beat Florida. I think looking at through like 7-3 with the remaining 10 games, and you factor in those automatic dubs against East Texas A&M and Kent State, yeah, man, that should be the standard. That's what everybody wants at Florida State. That's what the staff wants. That's what they're getting paid to do. That's what they've been assembled to do. So let's get back to it.
Yeah, I guess I just you can. I think you can be in both camps. I think you can be like, yeah, man, a 7-win season, even if it means you went 5-5 in the games that really counted. I don't think anybody's going to be happy with it, but you can also understand there's a process to getting back to where you want to get back to. And then,
how does that work, though, Corey? I've been starting to interrupt. Like, how does 7 wins this season set you up for success in 2026 with the way the sport is right now?
I guess I would ask, because this was the overall point I wanted to make. How is a fan standard do anything for anything? Like, what difference does it make whether I want to hold Florida State to a 10 or 11 win standard and whether they get there or not? The only standards that matter are the guys that are playing on the field and the coaches that are coaching them. They've got to hold them to the standard. And I do genuinely think, that all the coaches there do have a very high standard for what they expect. And I hope most of the players do. That is one of my concerns, though, when you bring back half of a roster that went 2-10, their standards probably aren't that high. But I think the coaches' standards are high, and you try to get them to play to what those standards are. Whether the fans are delusional, and I'm not saying thinking 10 wins as a standard is delusional, but even if you thought they were delusional, it doesn't matter. If the players and coaches have a high standard, that's what matters most. And if your administration has a high standard, obviously,
yes,
I think
that's the more important part.
But I don't think me saying that I would be okay with 7 or 8 wins because in this one specific season, because I do understand that 2-10 just happened. I don't think that makes me a fan of mediocre or someone that settles for mediocre. But we also understand that, it's not 1997 anymore. Like the standard has changed, and whether we want them to get back to the 90s again, well, that's never going to happen for a variety of reasons. There's just never going to be a team that goes on a run like that at any school. So that standard was impossible. I think my standard, but so this year in particular, I'm not saying it helps you in 2026. As we know, one year to another doesn't matter at all. I'm just saying it helps you get the stink off you from 2-10. If you go to a bowl, if you're in the conversation to make the championship game, the ACC championship game in November, that washes some of the grime and filth of 2024. It just does. It gets you back into it just gets you back in the consciousness. It gets you back in players' eyes that, okay, that's not a 2-10 program. That's a winning program. Go prove that you're a winning program again. And then, to recruits, to parents, to your own players, to your administration. But yeah, look, man. But that's it. I don't. But
I think if you're in the mix in November to winning the ACC, you're not just scratching and clawing just for bowl eligibility. I'm with you. Like, that's my standard for this season. Like I guess I am redefining the standard because we're all defining the standard based on the past. And we think about the administration, man, they're going to base it on the pocketbook. If they don't have the money, if they don't think they can afford to get rid of Mike Norvell, they're not going to do it. So we can sit here and argue about all of it. But yeah, I just want to be having I don't want to have to squint that hard in November, Corey, to see a path to make it to Charlotte. I think that's fair. That's reasonable. It's not saying that it's 10 wins or bust, and it's certainly not saying that I'll be fine with just 6 wins. So maybe I am in the middle ground after all.
But it's so odd because last year wasn't just the losses, man. For me, it was late in the season where it was just not competitive. Like, you lost to Georgia Tech on a last-second field goal. You even lost to Memphis by a possession. You were in the game with Boston College. I know those are crazy sentences to even utter, but it wasn't like you were getting blown off the field.
Yeah.
Then Miami, you kind of hung with them, but only because you had a ridiculous 4th-and-1 QB sneak, and that Cam Ward had a bad game, and Miami did dumb things. Otherwise, you'd have lost that game by 40. And you just kept getting North Carolina. You weren't really in the game. You weren't competitive. The Duke game you should have won, but you had a quarterback that turned it over 3 straight times, which I believe is an all-time record, on 3 straight plays. And then the Notre Dame game happened. And then the Florida game happened. Like it just became kind of non-competitive. So what if you lose to Clemson in Death Valley 31-30? And that's your 3rd loss of the season. Is that all of a sudden like he's got to go? Like, I do think the way it looks matters, man, because last year to me what was so disappointing wasn't just the 2-10, although that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that happened. But it was the blowouts, and the Notre Dame game was maybe an all-time low for this program. Like, legitimately an all-time low. I know that was a playoff team. Came close to winning a national championship. Their talent isn't 49 points better than you. Your team went up there and completely embarrassed itself and laid down on its way to a 2-10 season. Just a disgusting performance. That, to me, is where you judge if things can get better or not. Like, does this team fight and care and compete? And if they lose 5 games but they're all within a touchdown, okay, man, at least that's something to hang on to. I know at the end of the day the record is what matters most. But I'm saying you could see an avenue where if you go 7-5, but 4 of the 5 losses are in the 4th quarter, you're like, okay, that's something that can at least be built upon. But if you go 7-5 and 4 of the 5 losses are 30 points or worse, he's done. Does that make sense? Like, I do think the way it looks matters, not as much as the wins and losses, but close to it. And so if they're competitive this year, and so my point being, maybe they're not in contention in November because of the 31-30 loss to Clemson and the last-second field goal that was missed against Miami. And those are the reasons you're not in the conversation to be in Charlotte in December. That doesn't mean you didn't make some real positive strides. So the record can't just be the end-all, be-all when you're coming off 2-10. And, as you pointed out astutely, you owe the head coach $50-something million. You know, there are some shades of gray in all this, but yeah, I want people to understand if they go 8-4 this year, I'm content. That is not my bar. My bar is still way up here. My bar for 2025 has been lowered. My bar for the program as a whole is still pretty much where it's always been. This is still Florida State. It's still one of the 10 best football schools in the country. Again, it is. You can't argue that with history, tradition, and results. So, but for this one little tiny window, 7 or 8 wins would be good enough to reach my bar for this year.
Mark needs to be he just needs to be our producer.
Here's something to talk about. Issue number 3. Yeah, I know.
Last few
it gets it going.
Yeah, we're almost generating discussion caliber. I don't know if it's causation or correlation, but ever since I got a Ridge wallet, my posture's been better. Like, I'm walking, I see my friends. Like, I see people I haven't seen. I'm like, Azon, you look like you're taller. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm walking with better posture. Maybe it's because I'm not sitting on a wallet any longer. I don't know. No scientific evidence to back that up. But I do know that my wallet game is much stronger ever since I switched over to a Ridge wallet. Ridge is more than just wallets. Everything, though, made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. Again, not just wallets, also everyday carry essentials like your key case, a suitcase, even wedding bands, rings, things like that. All built with the same sleek, durable design. And no matter what you end up picking over at Ridge, when you use the promo code WAKEUP, you can save 10% off, by the way. You'll get free shipping and a 99-day risk-free trial and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. Lifetime warranty. Check out the website. You might be like, ooh, a little bit expensive. Use the promo code WAKEUP. You might be able to save 10% and know that you'll have an item that is backed for the rest of your life. Pretty cool, I think. Check out ridge.com/wakeup. Again, ridge.com/wakeup to save 10% today. We're back. Final segment of the day. We'll have one more show for you folks on Friday. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. We go to Mac03. Hey, guys, first time question. If this is too long, you can edit it down, Aslan. Appreciate all your guys' hard work. First-time question, so let me check in from Palatka, Putnam County. Notable people, WWE Hall of Famer and FSU alumni Michelle McCool, also former FSU running back in Crescent City and Palatka High School football coach Pooh Bear Williams.
Isn't Michelle McCool the one that's married to The Undertaker? I know he's married to a former FSU. This is an FSU student.
She is married to The Undertaker. That is correct.
Oh, I got it right. Okay, so she's a Noles. She's a big Florida State fan.
Yep. Received her master's in educational leadership.
Yeah.
Taught 7th grade science for 4 years in her hometown of Palatka, Florida.
I hope she's listening to this. Michelle, would you want to be a guest on the podcast? Or let us come hang out with you in Austin? I bet y'all have a really nice house in Austin, Texas. Let us come hang out with you guys for a while.
Is that where the Taker lives?
Yeah. I know that, not to name drop, but I know that for 2 reasons. Number one, Tom Segura went over to his house to he gave him a piece of exercise equipment that he wasn't using anymore, like some fancy machine that Tom Segura was putting in his own gym in Austin. And then also, Stephanie's boss, the company she works for, lives in the same neighborhood and is good friends with The Undertaker and his wife.
Very nice.
That's how I found out that he was a Florida State fan.
There we go. All
yeah,
right.
Neat, right?
All roads lead back to Tallahassee and Doak Campbell Stadium.
Dang right.
Question, how would you fix the College World Series / baseball schedule and format? He would like to see maybe another super regional style weekend, best 2 out of 3, either on campus or add another weekend in Omaha. Then during championship week, instead of games, Monday, make it a home run derby MLB showcase game. Tuesday, have a skills challenge. Wednesday and Thursday can be the draft. Friday, Saturday, Sundays are championship series. And then the Monday after the College World Series, the transfer portal would open up. Thanks for providing all the awesome content year-round. Bonus idea for the skills challenge, outfield do-or-die throw. Timed throw from catch and glove to impact on a target at home, scored on accuracy 2. It would be cool to see someone throwing a 102-mile-an-hour bullet 260 feet away and hitting a bullseye at home plate.
Especially if they're throwing 102, that would be really impressive. I know Acuna. I think Acuna had one 104.
Nice.
Earlier this year. Yeah. Look,
so you guys took down the Mets the other day. Good job, man.
Yeah, man. That's just what the Bravos do. And they were down 4-1 in the 8th. And usually when they're down 4-1 in the 8th, that is a wrap. Yeah. But yeah, Acuna made a great catch to double up Soto at first, and Ozuna came through. Good. You know what was funny though? You remember back in the day? So the Braves won the game. They had bases loaded, 1 out. I think it was 1 out. Austin Riley's up, and he hits a ball to the fence in center field. It's a tie game. So obviously, a ball to the fence in center field, the game is over. But all you got to do is tag up, the game is over. It used to be these outfielders, once they knew
they start trotting in like I can't do this.
It doesn't matter. Even if I race back and catch it, I'm never going to throw that guy out at home. The game is over. That Mets center fielder slammed into the wall to catch it. If I'm Austin Riley, that would annoy me more than being the hero would make me feel good. It's like, man, you couldn't just give me that hit? I mean, what does it matter? Only 1 run is. I'm still getting the RBI whether you go catch it or not. Why would you go chase it into the wall? Like, it was so – he would have gone –
Culture, Corey. It's called culture.
It's Mets culture. I think it's just to be a jerk. And I love it. I'm all about the pettiness. I think it's funny. Maybe it helps his pitcher, too. His pitcher certainly appreciates it. It doesn't give an earned run. He just caught it because it was in the 10th inning, so the runner on second was already there. So, anyway, I thought that was funny. But, yeah, for the College World Series, look, man, as we're doing this, I'm watching Coastal beat Louisville. Is beating Louisville right now 6-0 in the 4th inning. And the reason Coastal scored 5 runs in the first inning, maybe 6. They scored 6 in the first inning. The first 5 guys all reached off a kid that hadn't pitched in a month. So that is my issue with the way the college baseball tournaments are formatted. Even the biggest one in the country, which is this one, is that if you lose your first game like Louisville did, and then you win the next 2, which Louisville did, you still have to start a guy that hasn't thrown in a month. In the most important, with your season on the line, you have to go pitch a guy that hasn't pitched in a month, because it's do or die. And meanwhile, Coastal's pitching one of their starters, one of their aces, and you're pitching a guy that hasn't pitched in a month, all because of the first game of the tournament. And that's not how baseball should be. The first game of a tournament shouldn't make it almost impossible for you then to go win that tournament. And that's what it's turned into in College World Series. I don't know how to fix it other than, like I said, I think I had this idea a couple months ago, was instead of you have 8 teams in the College World Series, but you do series. Like the number 1 team plays the number 8 team, best 2 out of 3.
You going to reseed when we get to Omaha?
Yeah, you could reseed too, but even more than that, the number 1 team it's not just 1 game between Arkansas and LSU, it's 3 games. And whoever wins that best 2 out of 3 moves on. And then they're in the semifinals. And then you do it again, and then you're in the finals. I hate the way that baseball has a series the entire time. For the whole season, you're playing series, and then when you're there at the final stage, it's this crazy tournament format where if you lose the first game, I think it's like what I can't remember the stat. I always know it's like 22 of 25 have won their first game. The 22 of their last 25 World Series winners won their first game. Because we saw it last year with Florida State, man. They're having to play that great Tennessee team a second time after winning their next 2 games, after losing on a check swing. They have to go play. They play that Tennessee team again 4 days later, and they're pitching John Abraham as their starter. Because with the way the pitching lines up, you can't get back to your rotation, and I don't like it. I think it's a dumb way to declare a champion. I also say that probably because I watched Florida State and they're 0 for 24, so I might have a little ill will towards this format.
Yeah. Would it be? I mean, would that take substantially more time, or could you fit it into the same amount? Yeah,
it definitely would. That's the issue. Is like the way I look at it now, man. If these players are going to get paid and they're going to be professional baseball players, I would almost like maybe you could treat college baseball like a Major League Baseball. You start in February and you play till May 10th, but instead of playing 4 games a week, you're playing 6 games a week. You're playing 2 series every week, just like Major League Baseball teams do.
Interesting.
And you could still, because then my point being, then you could still have a 55-game regular season, but then start the playoffs, start the NCAA tournament, May 10th instead of May 28th or whatever. So it gives you 3 extra weeks. So the College World Series would last 3 weeks instead of 9 days, which probably wouldn't be great. But yeah, and I know that's never going to happen. They're never changing this. It's just it's not the every other baseball. Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, even high school baseball, you play series. But for college baseball, you go to some national tournament where it's like a travel ball tournament, and that just doesn't seem like how baseball is supposed to be played. But again, Florida State's 0 for 24. Coastal Carolina apparently is about to get to. They've been to the College World Series twice, and they're about to be in the championship series both times. So they love the format.
Listen, this is all Grady Smith's fault. If he just calls. Had a strike last year. Florida State wins the first game against Tennessee.
You remember the umpire's name?
I just looked it up. But I think we all need to commit that to memory now, everybody. Let's not let
Grady Smith.
Yeah. He can't change all of the entire way that we've done this sport just because he screwed it up. But
an all-time villain.
All-time.
An all-time Florida State athletics villain. Yeah, Grady Smith. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, 2 off-topic ones to take us into the rest of our Thursday, everybody. Our guy, Turd Ferguson, 904. Aslan, heard you say your girlfriend is a Fleming Island grad. I'm 2015 class. We just had our 10-year reunion at Whitey's Fish Camp in Fleming Island this past weekend. I have not been to Whitey's. Abby has told me that we do need to go to Whitey's at some point. I've always said that if I was hosting a foreign exchange student and wanted to give them a taste of what America is like, I'd bring them to Whitey's.
Okay.
With delicacies such as fried gator tail hush puppies and a patio scene that offers more Skinnerd cover bands and cigarette smoke than you could ever want, it would definitely be my go-to venue for someone from, say, France. Question for both of you. What would be your choice? No corner pocket. That's too easy. Matzo? You take him to Matzo? I don't know if that's representative of college America.
Yeah, what are we? I was going to say, what are we trying to show them? Just like how the reals live, or how like 19-year-olds live?
Yeah, the reals live, right? Just the crazy foods that we eat. Some of our tribal antics, sitting around a fire and listening to like a cover band and eating, these crazy foods. I don't know, man. Maybe like the Florida State Fair, maybe the Strawberry Festival, Strawberry Festival in Polk County gets you some Americana.
What's that festival that's around here somewhere? It's like the Grunt. I don't know what it's called. It's where those things come up from the ground.
Cicadas?
No, people. There's gonna be people screaming at me. Listen to this. I can't. It's like I almost want to call Stephanie in there, like grunt worms or something. They do something. It's like
the
an
Sop Choppy Worm Gruntin' Festival.
There you go. I think they pound the ground with some sort of apparatus, and all of a sudden, hundreds and thousands of these worms come out of the ground. That's where I would take them. Okay. I think I'm getting that right. And also, I'm sure they have live music and watermelon and stuff. But you pound the ground, and worms come out, and I don't know if they race or they win prizes. I don't know what the worms get, but I know they do it every year. I guess it's in Sop Choppy, right?
Yeah, that's what it says. I'm trying to find. I don't know the rules on it. Yeah, if we want to keep diving in there, though, I think Alabama's got a rattlesnake festival.
Okay,
where they you can eat rattlesnake, like they deep fry rattlesnake, and it's all about the rattlesnake. So CBS correspondent Steve Hartman reported that when CBS News legend Charles Kuralt first discovered the worm grunters in Sop Choppy 40 years ago, he thought it had to be a trick. CBS News went out there to cover this back in the 70s, man. Incredible.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. It's a big deal. It's crazy you and I haven't been out there. We should do a live remote from there.
We should. Someone reach out to us over there in Sop Choppy.
I would say, though, honestly, to get the real American experience is I would, especially if it's somebody from France, probably doesn't drive a lot. If they live in Paris, they're probably on their bike or on their, I don't
Vespa.
know, the Vespa or
That's
something.
Italy,
yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
And they're just basically miming to people all day. I would bring them to Atlanta and just put them on 285. And just see what it's like, man. See what it's like.
At like 4:57 p.m.
4:15. It really doesn't matter. We could do it at 1 in the afternoon or night at night. It's the same. And just see what their reaction is to be like, oh, well, we got to go about 26 miles. Oh, how long is that going to take? 6 years? 2.5 days? Like, I want them to see what we have to deal with.
Why so much congestion? Why so much congestion, Monsieur Clark?
Shut up, Frenchie. Just enjoy this Skinnerd. And I turned the Skinnerd up in the car.
Last one, Sam E. Knoll. Hey, guys, my dad and son are planning a guys trip for an away game this year. We're leaning towards Virginia since none of us have ever been there. It's a Friday night. We can maybe go to D.C. for the weekend, hit some of the tourist spots there.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you guys would rank the ACC venues that you've been to, factoring in both game experience and the city-town experience surrounding it with hotels, bars, restaurants, things to do, etc. Well, you've been to all of them, Corey, I feel like. So
I have, yeah. Virginia Tech, I can't really say that much. It was a while ago, and then it was also a Thursday night. But look, man, that's the thing with the ACC is the towns they're not real college towns. Blacksburg is.
Chapel Hill.
Yeah, that's not a bad one, but I don't know if that but you're so close to Durham and Raleigh. You're close to real cities, and that's what the beauty. One of the beauties, I guess, of the ACC is you are typically around a lot of metropolitan areas, like Miami, Georgia Tech is Atlanta. Like we said, Duke and Chapel Hill and Raleigh are all right there in the triangle. So there's Maryland used to be right by D.C. I assume Charlottesville's not that far from D.C. So you have some real chances to go see big cities. But I don't know that I would. I don't know what I would recommend as like the best guys
Clemson,
trip.
Right?
Clemson. I mean,
but there's another. Yeah, there's.
What are you going to do on the say you play Clemson on Friday?
I think Greenville's supposed to be a pretty cool city these days, like a kind of a poor man's version of Savannah or Charleston. I feel like. It's inland, but
you're right. That's not a bad play. Greenville is nice. I wonder about the golf out the man's trip, the guys trip. Right. I can't speak today, but I can't. I don't know how that would fit into Clemson, but yeah, I would think that there aren't any that stick out as horrible, but there aren't any that are exceptional either. Again, like Pittsburgh, I loved my weekend in Pittsburgh. Yeah. I got there on a Friday night. Late Friday night, really early Saturday morning. But I was there a Saturday and a Sunday and a Monday. I also got to see Jameis Winston debut. That was cool. And I got to go to a Pirates game. But, so that was cool, but I don't know if that's exactly what people are looking for. I lament the fact that there's not a lot of real college towns. Charlottesville would be cool. I have been to Charlottesville. It is a cool college town. You got Thomas Jefferson's house up there in Monticello. How do we say it?
Monticello, I think. At least that's what we say here in Florida, so I'm going to call it that way.
So I think it's Monticello, maybe. Okay. We call it Monticello because we're weird down here in the South.
Like Cairo?
I know, and anytime I see that city in Egypt, I always call it Cairo, Egypt, because that's just living in the South for so long. But in Atlanta, anybody that has lived in Atlanta knows that it's called Ponce de Leon. Not Ponce de Leon. No. It's literally called Ponce de Leon. That's how we talk down here.
All right, what about this year, though, Corey? So between Charlottesville, Palo Alto, Clemson, and Raleigh.
I think Raleigh's a good play. Especially because isn't that game on a Friday? This is just me speaking for me. I can't make suggestions for other people. But I think the NC State game's on a Friday night, right?
Correct.
So then the next Saturday, you could go to another college football game 10 miles away. And I know it's not going to be a great one because it's an ACC game, but that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to go to a college football game where you don't have a rooting interest. They're a lot more fun to watch, a lot more relaxing. And then, or you could go do cool things in North Carolina because you are in a big enough city. Heck, that might be the time that hockey started back up. You could go watch the Carolina Hurricanes play.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of options, and that's a real city. And Charlotte's not too far away, but Raleigh Durham is a real metro city with a lot to do. So that would be and the fact that it's Friday night, much like Charlottesville, I like having the weekend free. I like having that Saturday and Sunday free. So those would be my two best options. Definitely not Miami's not this year. And Clemson, Greenville's cool, but all those hotels will be sold out because of the Clemson game.
I'm sure Matt Lasser is yelling at us, so I'll just say it for him. But we were talking about ones this season. SMU.
SMU, yeah.
Dallas.
Apparently those people are all jerks. They're all jerks, those Florida State fans out there. So I wish them nothing but ill this season. Sorry, SMU.
All right, that's a wrap for us. Got through the entire mailbag. Doesn't mean we're done for the week, though. We're going to rendezvous. Who knows what we're going to talk about? Surely something, though. Maybe I'll finally get Michael or Matt on here to talk some recruiting.
Yeah, do it, man. They're 14th in the country. Let's go.
Okay.
If the football team was ranked 14th in the country, you'd be really fired up, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you got to get Irish O'Fell on this program.
Yeah, that's right. So get one of them boys on it.
Any chance we're going to get another top 40 this week, or are we probably saying that for next week?
Yeah, in fact, it'll probably be out by the time. It would be out by the time people are listening to this.
Heavens.
I did it on Wednesday.
Thank heavens.
So it should be out by the time people are listening to this on Thursday.
All right.
31 to 35.
Nice. All right. Yep. Well, we definitely got something to talk about. Join us for that and a cool little jingle. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.